Last time in Call to Arms, the episode and season ended with a shot of our heroes joining the fleet and what gave the impression that they were turning right around and heading back into the fighting. Well, that wasn't what was supposed to happen. There was a miscommunication with the effects guys, and it ran up against what was planned for Season 6, a multi-part epic of the station under Dominion occupation and Sisko and his people now exiled from what had been their home. The pieces had been laid out for it. The Dominion wanting to take down the minefield, Jake left behind, Garrett coming along with the Defiant crew, Worf with Martok on his bird of prey, and the complexities of Dukat under Weyoun, while at the same time the former was in command over Kira now, and the latter in adoration before Odo. It was all set, so how do we deal with this fleet? Smash 'em! Smash 'em up good! To seek out new life and then get our asses kicked by it. The war is already 3 months old now, and the good guys are not doing well, having had to retreat in every battle throughout it. Garrick sums it up pretty accurately when Bashir checks his head wound.
You'll live.
I wish I shared your confidence.
Yeah, at this rate, survival's pretty unlikely, and Bashir's even got the math to back that up.
Over 50%?
32.7.
Yep, that's about what Sean Connery calculated.
Personally, I give us 1 chance in 3.
Bashir admits that, after a lifetime of having to hide his talents, he's going to use his abilities now whenever he wants. And there's no sense in holding back either, whether it's genetically enhanced abilities or Sisko's boundless badassery.
If I have anything to say about the matter, we'll be going right back to the front lines.
My new plan is a big cluster of photon torpedoes holding a giant net that picks up ships as they go until the net is full, and then the torpedoes explode. And then the net explodes, just to be sure. Speaking of killing, our Klingon friends arrive, and Worf reminds us of the fact that he and Jadzia are going to be married once the station's retaken. Worf's unhappy with some of the arrangements she's made with the wedding ceremony, and surprisingly, if you remember Let He Who Is Without Sin, Worf finally gets his way for once. Although since he's now getting married, it's probably the last time that'll happen. Just before the titles, Bashir announces that the 7th Fleet, the one that was supposed to really take it to the Dominion, is coming back with only 14 ships, a loss of 7 for every 8 ships that were sent. The grimness of the situation then hits the viewer full in the face as we return from the titles, and we have what anywhere else would seem like some kind of parallel reality, not the real one. Not with Cardassians and Jem'hadar ships docked at and surrounding DS9, while the villain is giving the captain's log voiceover as Dukat emerges from his office, much like Sisko often would at the start. His report speaks of victory after victory, and everything pointing to the defeat of the Federation and the conquest of Earth. And amidst it all, we see Kira having to play nice with Weyoun, Dukat, and Damar, despite her loathing for all of them, because that treaty is all that stands between the Bajoran independence and Dukat's tender mercies. The one ray of sunshine, surprisingly, comes from Quark, who actually manages to see things with a bit of objectivity.
Look around. Do you see any ghetto fences dividing the promenade? Or exhausted Bajoran slave laborers sprawled on the ground after a grueling day in the ore processing center?
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Do you hear the cries of starving children? I don't. Now, don't get me wrong. I miss the Federation, too. All I'm saying is, things could be a lot worse.
Elsewhere, Sisko and the Defiant have been reassigned to Starbase such-and-so, which they weren't too happy about. Still, it's just a reassignment. It's not like they're losing the Defiant.
I hope you'll find this office satisfactory.
Office? I wasn't aware I'd be needing an office. I thought I was here for an assignment briefing.
I'm afraid you're going to be here for a lot longer than you think, Captain. As of right now, you're no longer in command of the Defiant.
I'm going to turn around. And when I turn back, we're going to both pretend that you didn't just say something that would make me punch you in the throat. It seems like Sisko's lost just about everything. I mean, his ship, his station, his hair.
Maybe now would be a good time to contact your father.
Oh, crap, and his son, too. Sisko, keep an eye on your pants. Someone might try to snatch those when you're not looking. All right, well, just explain all this to your father, okay? I'm sure he'll understand.
You did what?
That's it. Apron on, buckets of clams out back. Start scrubbing, young man. You think about what you did. Both of them are worried about Jake, but Sisko points out that no matter what they think, Jake's old enough to make his own decisions, even very stupid ones. He figures that as the emissary's son, he's untouchable, assuming there's some kind of nepotism involved in being a holy figure. But nevertheless, Weyoun is leaving Jake be, although he doesn't much care for his stories.
Because I've read your previous articles, And they left me with one inescapable conclusion. You are biased.
Well, he's a journalist. Since when is that a surprise? Mr. Weyoun, are you setting up forced labor camps now, or you wait until after the war is over? Unlike in other societies, though, the Dominion doesn't tolerate bias.
Which is why I've been forced to withhold the transmission.
Are you telling me that no one from the Federation read my reports?
If I don't send them, they don't read them.
What about freedom of the press?
Please tell me you're not that naive.
I know I reported that you were an evil oligarchy bent on crushing the freedoms of everyone in the galaxy, but I didn't think you'd go so far as to stop me from saying it. That's the kind of thing I'd expect from an evil oligarchy bent on crushing the freedoms of everyone in the galaxy. There you go again with the negativity. Well, it's true. Absolutely not. It's not an oligarchy, it's a theocracy. Meanwhile, as we meet further with Admiral Ross, this is his first episode, he explains that the mission he needs Sisko to pull off is an attack on the main Ketracel White storage facility. Ketracel White is a drug the Founders use to keep the Jem'hadar more directly under their control. In theory, it's unnecessary, but it's an extra bit of insurance to make sure that they don't start thinking of not living to die for the Founders. The drawback is that without the White, the Jem'hadar have this tendency to go insane and kill everyone regardless of whose side they're on, and then curl up and die. That's not too dissimilar from a lot of other drugs, really. I mean, have you ever read some of those reams of things they print off whenever you get a prescription filled out? May cause cramps, spontaneous lactation, hardening of the ocular jelly, fingernail ejection, and crapping out your own colon. Take with food. Now, you might think taking them off the Defiant was a mistake, since it's Starfleet's only cloaked ship. That whole don't use it in the Alpha Quadrant thing seems to have been renegotiated by the Sisko at some point. And besides, the Klingons have a whole fleet of cloaked ships. No. The only way we're going to sort out this problem is with something even better than cloaks. We need some continuity. There was a Dominion ship that Sisko and company captured in the episode, The Ship. And it's been fixed up and is ready to go. Of course, there are complaints like the lack of chairs.
Have you noticed? There isn't a single food replicator anywhere on this ship.
That shouldn't be a problem. Captain Sisko says there'll be plenty of field rations.
Try eating field rations for 3 weeks and then tell me it isn't a problem.
Wait a minute. You can install replicators on a mine the size of a beach ball, but you can't just stick one in a corner here? The chief's stomach isn't the only thing complaining.
You know it is a problem. No view screen. Who built a bridge without a window?
Ironically, Ron Moore, who wrote the next episode, created a bridge with no window on the Galactica. And for that matter, no replicator or chairs for the commanding officer either. But they're going to have to make do here, so sporting his special Konami laser scope, Sisko takes him out. He's even brought Garrick along, since they're heading into Cardassian territory.
Pull up a chair.
Back on DS9, things have taken a turn for the uncomfortable. Dukat's sexual infatuation he's had with Kira has always been a bit of an annoyance for her, but now he's in command of the station where she's been assigned, so effectively, he's her boss. And beyond that, it's probably very gratifying for him, after her comment back in Purgatory's Shadow, that Cardassian threats are no longer taken seriously, that she now has to follow his every order. When he says he wants to see her, she has to come there and put up with his bullshit until he's finished. Of course, that doesn't mean that she has to just stand there and take it silently.
Oh, I could make things very pleasant for you here, Kira.
You could start by doing something about your breath.
Brain, delete last 6 seconds and replace with, "Yes, Gul Dukat, you make me dewy just looking at you." There, that's better. You may go now, Major. But for all her bravado, Kira's upset at the position Dukat's in and grouses to Odo about it. But Odo's graduated from the Culinary Institute of Grouse with high honors and trumps it with the fact he doesn't have any security officers anymore. All he does is sit in that chair all day. So Kira suggests that he try asking for them back, though it could be a difficult sell. Dukat's dead set against it, and with good reason. He's already got armed Jem'hadar about. Armed Bajorans is a wrinkle he really wants to avoid, especially because it serves as a reminder that, as he comments to Weyoun, even among servants there are those in authority. But nevertheless, Odo's going to have to try to talk them into it.
I want my Bajoran security officers reinstated.
Consider it done.
From now on, they'll be responsible for security on the promenade.
I don't see any problem with that.
And I want Dukat to carry me back to my office on his shoulders while making airplane noises. Would you like him to put his arms out like the wings of the plane, too? Actually, Weyoun has a price tag attached to this request. He wants Odo to join him and Dukat in making station policy. That's steep. So I get everything I want, but in return I have to be willing to have power over the whole station. Oh, you drive a hard bargain, Wayun, but I guess I'll take it. Elsewhere, the Dominion ship our heroes are on has just run into trouble, but is from their own fleet. The Centaur, captained by an old friend of Sisko's, thinks he's found a wayward ship and knocks out their comm system, and to make matters worse, crosses over into Cardassian space in pursuit. It puts them in a rough position. On the one hand, they don't want to fire on one of their own, especially here, where damage could leave them a sitting duck for the Dominion. On the other hand, the mission could help turn the tide of the whole war, and if they're shot down, there's no backup Dominion ship to try to repeat this, so unfortunately they have no choice but to fight back. Luckily, the Jem'hadar show up for their rescue, driving the Centaur off. Wow, that's embarrassing. Thanks for the assist. Could you point us to your supply of narcotics so we can blow it up and you can all die of rage and withdrawal? Thanks a bunch. They reach the facility without a hitch, so all that's left is to beam down their bomb inside of a Ketracel white milk can and then run like hell. But it seems whoever's down there noticed something was up, because the shield goes up, sealing them in before they can escape. But luckily they came up with a plan. Take off just before the explosion, and the shield will drop as they reach it, and they can run for it. So it's...
Must have gone off early.
Whoops! They still managed to escape, but damaged, and part of a long list of broken things is the warp drive, meaning a long trip back.
17 years, 2 months, and 3 days. Give or take an hour.
And we don't even have a chair! Post-episode follow-up. Annoying character again goes to Jake, and again because of his naivete. Final score for A Time to Stand is 7 out of 10. With 6 chapters, it can afford to pace itself, so the episode is short on effects, long in establishing how this situation is affecting our heroes. Bashir, for instance, is the most pessimistic and glum throughout the episode, but with the re-emphasis of his genetic enhancements, you get the sense it's because he's fully aware of just how bad it is. And similar observations could be made about the others, say, Dax's optimism or Nog's eagerness. The creators are doing the important job of not letting the war's action bits overwhelm the human tragedy that war inevitably is. Next time we see what happens to our poor damaged Dominion ship.
Trying to insult me.
A 32.7% chance of survival.
I call that insulting.